Alright guys, we're just gonna get right into it. We haven't unpaused yet, and that's for a reason, because we want to do a bunch of things before we unpause. The first thing we want to do is we want to grant the independence to the Hudson Bay Company, and the reason for that is so that we can disband this company here, because it's not really that good and we want a different company, but I'll talk about that later. We can incorporate Northern Ireland in the beginning. We're gonna recruit some units from here, so we don't want the 30% construction malice, so that's why we're incorporating this. Alright, so we incorporated Northern Ireland, and then we're gonna go to the Highlands, and we're just gonna build one fishing wharf. And then we're gonna do 10 construction sectors in the home counties, and then 10 in the lowlands. And then we're gonna make, well, we're gonna make an army, but we might as well upgrade our units. And then it's gonna be 30 from West Country, 30 from home counties, 30 from Wales, and 30 from lowlands. The exact numbers don't really matter. You could do like 20 in lowlands, 10 in Yorkshire or something, but this is just what I do every single game. There could probably be some improvement there, but you know, after 15 attempts, I kind of just want this video to be out and done with. We're going to recruit 4 generals for this army, and then we're going to make a second army. I like to station it in the North Sea. It doesn't really matter. And then we're going to do 20 from Ulster, 20 from Midlands, 10 from Lancashire, and 10 from East Anglia. And the reason for that is the peasants. I'm not sure if it's better to go for job seekers more, or it's better to go for peasants, so the run could have some optimization if anyone wants to improve it. There's a lot of optimization opportunities. And then this army, you could technically just do like 2 generals because it's only 60 units, but I just like to put 4 so they advance faster. We're going to put taxes to very high, and we're going to look to see if we can reform our government. We can. I'm not sure if it's every single game, but normally you can get these 3 and you'll be above 50, but I guess we're unlucky and we're at 49. And then we're going to do gov wages to highest, and the reason for that is because of this 10% authority. And if we go down to low, we lose prestige, so we want the benefits from the high authority, and we also just don't really care about the prestige loss. So what we do is go temporarily high government wages, and then we'll place some consumption taxes. It might be different every single game, but this is the consumption taxes I have. Just go for the ones that are the most authority efficient for the amount of money you get, and you'll be good. And then we're going to lower gov wages to lowest. For research, we're going to do triage and then fieldworks, and then you can do whatever you want after. I guess we'll just queue breach loading artillery or something. I mean, you could really just do whatever you want, but if you want to follow the guide word for word, then those are the texts I recommend. And then we're going to want to raise subject payments on the EIC. You could do it for all of your subjects, but if you really want like 300 pounds a week, then you can go for it, but I'm just not gonna, I don't think the micro is worth it. And then we're gonna rival France. We are going to do maximum import subventions on iron, and also on ammunition. Ammunition might not be needed, iron you could do high or something like that, but this is just what I do. And then we're going to want to damage relations with the Ottomans. And then we're going to expel diplomats with America here. And then we're going to bump up our university PM. You can see it's only on scholastic education. If we go for philosophy department, we're making, oh my god, I don't remember what it was. Maybe like 6 more innovation, like a 10% increase or something. And you get it pretty much for free. You just need to click a button, so that's pretty good. And then I'm going to remove interest from Russia, Caucasia, Manchuria, and the Andes. And I'm going to put in Dixie, the Midwest, South Germany, and Danubia. And then we're going to select all our armies. And we might as well just enable extra supplies before we forget. And then what I like to do, this isn't necessary, but this button here, Home HQ, it sets the location of where the army normally just goes back to. And I just like to set the Home HQ for every single army to England, so that after each war we don't have to really worry about finding our armies, and we only really care about protecting our capital if we're being honest. And then for the Navy, what I like to do is I like to, let me make sure I'm going in order. Yeah, I'm going in order. So we're going to send all our fleets to England HQ. We're going to select the 3 smallest fleets. We're going to click merge. And we've done all the setup for the run. So what I recommend is you take a save. You name it something like start or something, because you may need to reset. I've had to reset maybe 15 times. I've done quite a few attempts. I'm kind of guessing, but it's at least 10 attempts to kind of figure out the guide, make it fine-tuned, stuff like that. Did I build the ports? I did not build the ports. So if you're following the guide, then you would know to build ports at the very end after you built the second army. And then we can just overwrite this save, and it's like it never happened. And then we're ready to unpause. Alright guys, it's been a month, and the Opium War is fired. And we're paused here, so we're going to click this button, the top option. If you guys ever notice that you can't declare a war, but you're not in a play and you're not different things, the reason for that is because in the new update, the game considers whether or not you could join a play. And if it's near the region or something, I'm not exactly sure, then you need to declare neutrality. And then now you can see that we can declare the play. But we're going to declare for Beijing here. And then we're going to take some other things. We're going to take Fujian, wherever that is. Fujian. I don't know how to pronounce it. I don't think I have any Chinese viewers anyway, so I'm probably fine. And then Jiangxi. We're going to make Fujian primary. We're going to do treaty port of Eastern Guangdong. And then I haven't had them back down before from this. If they do back down from this, then, I don't know, maybe reset and hope for the best for the next run. Because that's kind of unlucky. But we're just going to select the home army, Army of the West Indies. We're going to send them to Indochina. We're going to take this nation, we're going to take this navy, and we're going to send them to Indochina. And then we're ready to unpause. I'm also going to decline every single treaty that gets sent my way. So just to remove any RNG aspect as much as I can, mitigate that factor. As you can see, we have a convoy issue, and we're going to have this for the whole run, because we live on an island, and we have this massive British Raj, which is taking a bunch of our convoys from port connections. And that is why that we built the fishing wharf. It is actually done now, and the company we're going to establish is going to be this British Fisheries Company. It is going to be in Highlands. It's going to give us 10% convoys eventually, which is very good. And then we're going to grant it investment rights, and we're going to grant it access to shipyards. I guess we could grant it trade rights as well. I don't know. I think we will give it trade rights. It's not in the guide, but I'm going to try it this time. So this is a branching from my actual guide, but we'll see if it works. Alright, the second the war starts, you're going to want to pause. You're going to take your home army, try and land in Beijing. And then for the second army, you're going to try and land in Fujian with the other navy. And then while paused still, you're going to demand the liberation of Michigan. The reason for Michigan is because if we look at the strategic regions, you can see France is setting an interest here. So if I started a liberate play for New England and France had their interest there, they could side against you. But in all my testing, I have not had a single experience where anyone set an interest in Michigan. I'm pretty sure because they cannot. So that's why you want to start the play with Michigan. And then you're going to liberate New Africa. And then you're going to liberate New England. You're going to make both of those primary. And then you're going to add humiliation. And then you're going to take these two navies. You're going to mobilize them, send them to the front. For the India Army, you're going to recruit roughly 30 conscripts, and this should be good enough. And then after you raise those conscripts, you're going to want to increase their training to general training. We do have a grocery shortage here. I'm going to do high subventions for import, and I'm going to put that in the guide. I'm not sure if that's actually beneficial, but it may be messing with our training. Yes, it has a shortage good here. Over time might just reduce organization and things. So yeah, we're just going to do maximum subventions actually, and we're going to put that in the guide. As you can see, the guide is not fully fleshed out. I'd honestly love it if a bigger YouTuber would take this over and improve the guide to where it's actually 100 times better, but we're going to unpause because we have added all our war goals already. And this China war should be really easy. I've had issues when I only landed in Beijing, but where's my other, hello? Okay, so a little bit of bad RNG here. We're going to need to recruit a new admiral and then try and land again. But as I was saying, I haven't had issues landing in Beijing. I've been only pushed out once, and I think that was because of a convoy issue. And the reason the convoy issue is so bad is because it affects supply, and that affects your organization. So you can see, even though we're at 70% organization, we're getting negative 23% offense and defense. Horrible morale recovery, and we're actually losing more men because of this. Because recovery rate affects the casualties, so a negative recovery rate means we'll have even more casualties. So a big part of this run is just managing the convoy issue. And also the debt issue, but you'll see that later. But one thing we want to, this is what I was trying to remember. We want to set this strategic objective to Washington, D.C. If you don't know how to do that, you can just click a unit, You can click to drag multiple, which I really recommend. You can just shift click from here. But the main idea is the units on the front, you always want to set the strategic objective to the capital. I'm going to remind you guys a few more times in some other wars, but that's something you should be doing every campaign as well. We're just going to ignore this front here. Every single time I just rush for here and I leave this front, but this happens quite often where the Pennsylvania front splits and it's a 0 advantage. So you're going to want to send the army of India over to this front. But the Qing War you can completely ignore, assuming you don't get one of your admirals killed, and you need to check and make sure that you're actually no invading. But now I'm going to explain why we're conquering these 3 states very soon. Actually, I can do it right now. The reason we're conquering Beijing is for the Forbidden City, which will give us a little bit of authority, a little bit of prestige. No one really cares. But the big thing is the legitimacy from including the head of state and government. There's going to be a throughput malus because it's going to be unincorporated, so it may give us like 15 legitimacy or something. Because we're going to be high taxes the whole game, we really want boost to our legitimacy. We want to be at least above 25. I believe being between 25 and 50 is perfectly fine, but every single time I just try to stay above 25 at the very least. And I don't think I've experienced a run where I haven't stayed above 25 without, like reforming government when needed. Oh yeah, I said I was going to explain why. It's not only because of the Forbidden City, but if you look here, Beijing has 340 manor houses, which gives us 3.4 million cash reserves. And the reason we're conquering Fujian is because they have 400 manor houses, and the reason we're conquering this state is because they have 600. So we're getting 13.4 million credit limit just from those 3 states' manor houses. So you can see right now we're at 34.5 million. I'm going to unpause to wait for the week tick. And we jumped up to 55.67 million, which is going to help us massively later in the game. This is, I would say, a necessity for this run, because otherwise we'd be going into defaults way too early. And I guess we can just... Oh yeah, one thing that isn't in the guide, but I recommend, is you delete all the units you get from your wars, because we're building enough units to where we don't really need them. And, okay, normally there's this one... Yeah, it's right here. We're going to want to delete this one Hong Kong unit from the 120 stack, because it's going to be annoying to see there. And whenever the Beijing rev starts, you're not going to be able to delete it then. And then we're just going to delete the Navy as well. We don't need 2 frigates. Alright, we can peace out. You can see the Americans have been severely weakened. 7 units, 32 conscripts. We won't have to worry about them for pretty much the rest of the game. And we're going to wait until our armies are not in limbo. And then we're going to select every single unit. Send them to, actually, Italy HQ. We're going to select our 3 navies. We're going to send them to Italy HQ as well. And then we are going to declare on the Ottomans for this province here. Montenegro, Karadag, whatever you want to call it. And in every single run I've had, no one sides with the Ottomans except for like Tripolitania. And the reason we're going for the Ottomans here is for 2 main reasons. First of all, we want a land connection with Austria in order to make the war to cripple them even easier. And second of all, the Ottomans are a great power, and great powers are able to start cut down to size plays. And we don't really want the Ottomans to start that war. We want Prussia, Russia, France, or America to start that war. Maybe Spain, but Spain is yeah, they're a major power. So one of those 4 we want to cut us down to size. I feel like I might be over-explaining a few things, but honestly I could care less. I'd rather over-explain than under-explain. We're going to let Bulgaria and Iraq. This is to make them weaker, and then we're going to accumulate them so that they hopefully become a minor power and their power block falls apart. And also so that they can't start the cut down to size play. This should be an easy war. There's a strategy I have for landing, and it's worked, I believe, 3 out of 3 times. In the same exact way every time, but we'll see if it's different. I'm not going to put this in the guide because it doesn't really matter much. But we're just going to retire 2 commanders here, and we're going to promote this dude. And that's for naval meta. I don't think it's important. I haven't done it any other run, but I guess I might as well do it this run. You can see we have a massive convoy issue. Our company is not helping us yet. Let's see if we have... No, we do not have mandates yet. Alright, the war started. So what okay, we actually don't really want these conscripts right now. They're just costing us convoys and money. You can just get rid of them in the India army. And then we're going to take the home army. We're going to naval invade their capital. We're going to take the West Indies army, or the India army, doesn't matter. We're going to naval invade with one of the fleets in Thessalia. And then we're going to take the other army, that's like 29 or 27. And And then we're going to naval invade Adana here. And we are going to unpause. We're going to wait for the army and fleets to arrive. Then we're going to set them all to defend. If you didn't know, you can select multiple armies at one time and change their orders. We're just going to wait to see the advantages. We're kind of unlucky this run, where we don't really have a massive advantage in any single front. Alright, well I guess we're just going to cancel this naval invasion temporarily, and then try and naval invade again in Tesla. Oh yeah, here's the London conference. We're just going to do the 24 points. Just for the relations, I guess. Yep, here we go. We have 100 advantage. We just needed to cancel and restart the naval invasion. And you can see, even though we are defending, we have no intention of actually attacking. They have armies here trying to defend against our scary invasions. Well, we just sneak around and land in an actual province. Alright, we landed. We're going to send the 16 staff to here. We don't need to damage relations with the Ottomans anymore. Oh, and you know, I am a noob, because what I forgot to do is I forgot to set strategic objective. Another thing of note, the Opium Wars. I guess I might as well mention it now before I forget. So the Opium Wars, you can see will complete if, and you can see the check mark is there. So the game knows that we've completed this, but for whatever reason, it isn't running the thing to give us the completion trigger. And what triggers the completion, I have realized, is if you take a save and load back the game. So we're gonna hold on to this for a little bit longer, and I'll tell you when to save and load back the game for maximal benefit. I'm gonna go ahead and say that this trade rights is beneficial because it increases the prosperity target. So you can see the target is 100 when in the past it would be more difficult and it would stay at 95 and I wouldn't get the convoy bonus. So I do recommend giving trade rights. I'm gonna put that in the guide now. Alright, we can be set with the Ottomans. And by the way, you don't really need to build ports in your building, in your states, I've noticed, because the AI private construction likes to build it for you. So you don't really need to worry about that. So don't waste your construction on ports that have negative 95% construction efficiency. Just let your private construction take on the pain for you. So that war's over. So we're pretty much just going to sit around until we get triage. So I'll see you then. We got our first two mandates. So the first two mandates, we're going to want to do transportation infrastructure. For the second two mandates, we're going to go militarize industry 2 for the military goods cost. The reason we want transportation infrastructure first is for this 20% building port throughput. So we have gotten triage. We are going to pause the game. We're going to select every single one of our armies. So we enabled first aid. And then what we are going to do now is we're going to take a save. And the reason we saved the game and took a save, and this is a good point to save, if we took a save earlier and loaded back then this would have happened, where the Opium Wars fires. I mean, we would have had to accept this 20% morale damage immediately, but since we held on to it, and we loaded and saved right now, for the next 5 years, which is going to be the high infamy prep, and then also right when we go high infamy, it's going to benefit us, so we're going to take this now. And then what we're going to do is we're going to declare on French Carniac, and the reason for that is for the same reason for the USA. If we look at strategic regions, in the past I tried doing North Africa, but sometimes Russia has an interest there, and as I said before, I don't really want any RNG, so I just like it standardized, I just like it simple. We're just going to declare for French Carniac here. We're going to force diplomatic play. We are going to liberate Occitania. We're going to liberate Algeria. We're going to make those two primary. And then we're going to conquer Corsica here. You can see we're at 92 infamy, but we are not over 100, so we cannot be cut down to size, so we are perfectly fine for now. And we are going to unpause. There's two timelines here, which we need to be mindful of. The first timeline is that Spain joins against us. Okay, Spain does actually side against us. This is actually perfect because it's the harder variation. But it's still very easy. We just select... Alright, so this is what I'm going to say. I'm going to suggest that you put 120, this army, to the south, and you put them on defend. If you want to make it simple, you can select this, and then this, if you want it to advance or select back, just so those four are all on defend, but you want them on defend. For all these other units, we want them on advance. And then I'm going to show you why when the war starts. We're losing a lot of money, which is not very good. A lot of it is from subventions. We're going to do low subventions for groceries. And then I think we're going to do low subventions for iron as well, just to save ourselves a little bit of money. And it looks like we need high subventions on imports for small arms. I'm I'm not going to put this in the guide because it's highly variable. I don't know, I'm not going to explain every single little mechanic, every single little thing. This is hopefully you're an intermediate player, you know what you're doing. You can kind of read in between the lines. And we're going to take the home army, we're going to land in Normandy. For the other two armies that are 29 and 27, we're going to land in the two provinces adjacent. And we're going to wait. And, okay, it looks like these two are not at a very good advantage. Well, this one, okay, they're all at a pretty bad advantage. Okay, I'll send this army to the front, just so there's more advantage. And then these two are going to be on defend. And we should be able, okay, we just instant naval invade. That's pretty cool. And we're going to set strategic objective for all of these units to their capital. We're going to send this 16 here. And we're going to keep these naval invasions, because they are preoccupying quite a bit of units. And we already got the capital, that easy, oh my god. Alright, so for Confederate Canada, Federate Australia, what I recommend is you completely ignore it and you say goodbye, I'm never going to speak to you again. And the reason for that is because of our power block, we have Vassalization 1, which gives us 10 authority per subject. So we don't really want to combine our subjects and have less of them, because then we'll get less authority. So we can peace out France now. And if you look at France, they are severely weakened, only 80 units to their name. And then what we're going to do, now that we own Corsica, is we're going to go to Sardinia Piedmont. We're going to say, hey buddy, give me some military access, and I'll give you some trade privileges, and we'll be best of buddies. And that is perfect, we're now best of buddies, and we're going to declare on Parma to annex country. This is probably the most RNG dependent of the run. I haven't had Russia side against me before, and I hope they don't do it this run, because I might need to restart. Alright, Austria sided against us. So we are now going to add liberate country of Hungary, liberate Bohemia, and liberate Galicia. And I forgot we also need to send an army to this Kardag front, Montenegro front actually. And then we're going to send the rest of our armies to Italy. And we pray Russia doesn't join. I haven't had them join before, but hopefully they don't. Two Sicilies we could care less about. Alright, looks like Russia did not join against us. Strategic objective to their capital. And then when the war starts, we're going to do an invasion of Parma with this army here. And then with our home army, we're going to do an invasion of Lombardy. And then we are going to select all these units. We're going to mobilize them, and we're going to send them to the Parma front. We don't really want Parma at all. Parma was just so we could declare the war. We don't really need it, nor do we really want it. There we go. Austria is severely weakened. We've weakened 4 of the great powers. If we look at the great powers now, the only 2 we haven't touched, I guess Belgium's a great power, hello? But the only 2 we haven't touched are Russia and Prussia. And we are not going to touch them. They're going to touch us very soon. We're going to select every single army except the army of the Mediterranean. Hello, game. And we're going to send them to North China. And this army of the Mediterranean is going to be in England. This big navy is going to be in the English Channel. Our other navy is going to be in the Irish Sea. And another navy is going to be in the North Sea. Our units are less than 100 days away from the North China HQ. So this is going to be our first high infamy war. So we're going to declare for Southern Anhui. We're going to take Henan here. We're going to take Shaanxi here. And then we're going to take Guangxi. And we can't make it primary, but we have 3 primaries, so they shouldn't back down. And we're going to be cut down to size very soon by someone. And as long as we don't have a shortage input, yep, here we go. So Russia is trying to cut us down to size. We are of course going to decline this. I'm very tempted to take French land, but as I recommended, you should take land. I guess we'll make Lib Poland our primary war goal. And we should have set our interest in Russia before this. But, you know, you live and you learn, I guess. And for these armies, we are going to make the primary objective the capital. So I'll take 3 states, transfer the Baltics, and release Poland. But as you can see, it's high infamy by 1943. So the guide is over, but if I end it now and I'm in a losing position, then it's kind of not a very good video, you know, not a very good guide. So we're gonna continue on. All right, we won against China. So we just increased our cap from 17 million credits away to 44 million credits away. And we're gonna delete all the new armies we got. We don't really want them. Goodbye. And then we're going to send every single unit back to England HQ. And we are going to prep to naval invade Russia and win the war. We're going to land in Kovno here. And the reason we're choosing this state is because in last patches, and even in this patch, they generally just completely ignore it, you know? They just say, you know what, you want to take Kovno, you can completely land there. And then you just say thank you and accept what you're given. Once you accept your invitation, you send all of your friends over. And as always, what we want to do is we want to set strategic objective to the capital of the person we intend to defeat. Oh, we had another mandate. I completely forgot. We're going to do militarized industry 2, and we just saved 36k. You know, it would have been smarter if we actually landed in Estland here, because AI subjects usually are very easy to land in, and we'd be right next to Ingria. So if you have a very similar situation where you're fighting Russia and you're transferring Baltic governance or they're in the war, I recommend landing in Estland. If that doesn't work, then you can go for Kovno, but that should save you some time and money. Alright, we can peace out with Russia. And that should be the run, guys. That's the guide. So we got lucky this run, and the East India Company didn't actually fracture, didn't split apart, didn't have their revolts. In most of my runs, it would have happened by now, usually by 1843 or 1842 or something like that. Maybe I'm just unlucky. There's two philosophies. You can keep the East India Company, or you can just say, let it die and just, you know, eat up whatever gets free, although it'll be less efficient for a world conquest. I feel like you could still probably grant independence to East India Company and still do a world conquest, you know? But this isn't really a world conquest guide. It's more just a high infamy guide. Hey, I'm new, I want to experience my first high infamy, what should I do? You know, stuff like that. If you're wondering what I would do in this position right now, there are a few things I would do. I would either declare on the Ottomans here to conquer state. Maybe conquer this province, make this primary, conquer this province, make primary. Usually when you're high infamy, you want 3 states primaried. If you are a experienced player, one thing you can do is you can leave the run's over, so I don't care, but you can leave the British Empire. You can form a new military treaty, or a new power block, and you can go for the military treaty. You can go for aggressive coordination, and you can conquer more land, because each conquest CB will be 30% less maneuvers, so you can take quite a bit more land. And if you want to go high infamy, or if you want to go world conquest, I recommend the military treaty. You could either go against maybe United States. As I said, you can go against the Ottomans. You could go against France or Spain when your truce is over. So for example, you declare on the United States here, you take some coastal states. And then after that war's over, you declare on the Ottomans, you take some states from them. Then you declare on maybe France, take some states from them. If Spain doesn't join, then you declare on Spain, take some states from them. Then you declare on Prussia, then Russia, and then back to Great Qing whenever you need some more money. The rest of it from here is on you guys to do whatever you want to do. I am going to very likely include this save in the description. So if you just want to skip all the guide, if you just want to be in this position, then I will give you the save in the description, probably in the form of like a Google Drive or something like that. But that should be the video. Let me know if you guys want to see other guides for other countries, if you want to see a certain country, challenge runs, if you want anything else. So yeah, this is kind of like a beginner infamy guide. But that should be it, guys. Have a good one.